was started actually by a home brewer. And he had been a home brewer for a long time. I learned how to brew from Denny Kahn, who's a well-known home brewer. So the founders had a close friend who was diagnosed with celiac disease in the mid-2000s. They'd enjoyed drinking beer, home brewing stuff together. And so James, the founder, he tried one of his friends' gluten-free beers they had that were on the market at the time, and didn't really enjoy it very much, and became pretty convinced that he could home brew something that was better than the commercial alternatives on the market. Turned out to be a lot more difficult than he thought it would be. Probably more difficult. He trialed dozens of different grains that are starchy, that don't have gluten in them. Beans.
Things like quinoa, rice.
Pretty much anything, yeah. Millet, buckwheat. As you know from the brewing process, anything with starch in it can be converted to sugar, and then consumed by alcohol and make something like beer. The kind of the breakthrough that James made was that he started using chestnuts, which are known as the tree of bread. They're about 40% starch by weight. They're very low in oil and fat, which is good for beer making. So he started buying chestnuts from a local grower here in the valley. We roast them here ourselves, so we give them a lot of the same quality you would expect from a roasted grain like barley. And then we also have added some other ingredients over the years. There's quite a bit more products on the market now that are geared towards gluten-free brewing. So, for instance, there are a couple maltsters now. The one in California that malts millet, and so they sprout, dry kiln malt millet. And you get pale, crystal, all that kind of stuff. And then there's a company in California that does the same thing with rice. So we've started using, especially the rice products. We like those a lot. And they just kind of do the same thing. They have like a dark chocolate roast. If you're looking to make like a stout or a porter or something like that. So there's lots of stuff out there on the market that is geared towards gluten-free breweries or gluten-free home brewers. But there's definitely a demand there. For us, I'd say a lot of our customers are young, starting families. They're developing brand identity of their family because they're so young, and they just want a space where maybe one person in the family has celiac disease or has gluten sensitivities. They just want a space where everyone can go and enjoy the kind of like experience that a lot of people have living here in Portland. You just go into a bar or a brew pub and try and eat different beers with friends on a flight, that kind of a thing. And so we try to recreate that experience for people who otherwise can't have beer.
Cool. So can you describe to me the process of making gluten-free beer? Because I know, like from homebrewing, you have the mash in, the wort. And
same thing here. Yeah. So we just mash in, but instead of with barley, we mash it with chestnuts and lentils and rice malt and stuff like that. But we do the same thing. We have a mash, and Tyler here is the head brewer.
Yeah. From a homebrewer's perspective, I'd say it's almost like a partial mash kind of setup because we do rely on sorghum syrup as our primary fermentable sugar. But we do get a good chunk of fermentable sugars out of the chestnuts and lentils as well.
Okay. So in the beginning, was there, from the beginning, were you always starting with those gluten-free products, or was there, it's like I know some gluten-free, you have to start with gluten, but then you have to remove the gluten.
Yeah, so we will never make beers with barley and try to enzymatically remove or reduce them. There's no truck at the end of the day that drives away from these breweries that says gluten on the side of it and that they're taking out of the beer. So our philosophy is that you don't start with what you don't want. So we've always decided to make beer out of 100% naturally gluten-free ingredients. There are a out there that will brew with barley and try to reduce it, or remove it. But for us, it's a philosophy that we open with. It's a philosophy we live with today, and it's about safety of our customers because there are studies that are slowly starting to come out that are showing that even if people don't have a visible reaction to eating gluten, if they have celiac disease, they still are doing damage to their intestinal tract. So it's a hidden damage that's happening. It's like a silent damage that's happening. It's an antibody reaction. So a lot of people maybe didn't have gluten for 10 years, and then they drink, 6 reduced beers until they start feeling really bad. And it's because it's like building that the antibodies are building back up in your body. So we just don't. We start with what we want, which is 100% naturally gluten-free.
Also, it's big risk of like mishandling the enzyme that reduces the gluten. There's been large breweries that had major recalls because their enzymes failed, and they were throwing out product that this happened with a European brewery where they legally can be labeled as gluten-free. Here we can't label gluten-reduced beer as gluten-free. It's specifically gluten-reduced, but they had to go through a major recall because it just did not work out for them.
So, from like a marketing perspective, is it smarter to be 100% gluten free, or would it be smart to say produce one beer that's gluten free, or
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely a couple breweries out there that do that produce beer made from barley and also produce a beer or a couple beers that are gluten-free. The issue with that is that a lot of people who have either serious allergy to gluten or wheat or celiac disease itself don't really feel safe drinking those beers because there is an issue with like cross-contamination. If a gluten-free beer is made on equipment that glutinous beer was made on, there is a potential for cross-contamination, and you could certainly even go above the threshold of parts per million if that's something that people are looking at. We don't really look at how many parts per million of gluten is in our product because we don't have any products that contain gluten to begin with. We of course test, but we don't detect anything because we've designed a whole system around minimizing cross-contamination. Whereas in the scenario you just talked about, you could do it, but it would require a lot of like cleaning in place between brewing, testing the equipment to make sure there's no nooks and crannies that gluten might be hiding in. So.
From a business perspective, that can make a lot of sense to an owner because you make a lot more money making beer. It's a lot cheaper to produce. Our prices are actually artificially deflated. We're selling our beer at a significantly lower margin than traditional barley-based brewery, so that people can actually enjoy it, as a regular thing.
Yeah.
So that's another large challenge. We're not brewing beer with any major commodity crops, like barley. So there's no government subsidies for our ingredients.
Yeah, from the business side of it, I would say it's you're tackling two very different things in that scenario. For us, we have a very dedicated customer base, but they're very diffuse over the United States. So, we something we've had to do is try to distribute to a lot of states because there simply aren't enough people who are drinking gluten-free beer just in our little corner of Portland for us to survive as like a traditional brew pub where we're just open 7 days a week and people come in and out and we just kind of make enough beer to feed the people around us. We have to look for our customers elsewhere, whereas a lot of other breweries, maybe they're a regional brewery or a different type of local brewery, they can have a different sort of model that they exist under business-wise.
so how do patrons know that products are gluten free here? Is there like an FDA standard that has to be met, or is there?
Yeah, there's a few different standards. There's the FDA, TTB, which regulates alcohol in the United States.
The TTB?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Tobacco and Alcohol Taxation Bureau, basically, of the United States government. That's where people would get federally permitted to operate with a liquor license or a brewing license, in our case. So they have regulations about what can be on the bottle as far as gluten-free or not. So there are labeling requirements. We go above and beyond any sort of federally mandated labeling requirements. Something we do is we work with an organization called the Gluten-Free Certification Organization. We pay a membership fee. They come in once a year and they audit our process, our brewing process, and they help us identify points in our production process where we could improve, maybe limit potential for cross contamination. How are you testing this product? One of the issues in testing things with gluten in it is any sort of hydrolyzation or enzymatic activity can really throw off a test. So, for instance, if you're testing beer that's fermented and finished, you're going to get a lot of false positives. So we have to test the beer before it's fermented. So they help us make processes to figure out the best way to implement our system, and then they stamp gluten-free on the side. We put that on our label and stuff like that. And so every time we come out with a beer, for instance, we have to send our label to them to make sure we're using the gluten-free mark properly. We have to send them the ingredients that we're using in the next batch of beers so that they can make sure there's no red flags, no potential for high-risk ingredients, anything like that. So there are federal regulations, but also for us, we like to go above that. We want our customers to feel safe. So for us, the seal of gluten-free is really important.
So could you explain, what do you think is the public perception of gluten-free beer in Portland? For health benefits, a trend, a fad?
Yeah. I'd say, if you went back a few years, you'd probably definitely see a lot of people consuming it for health benefits or for, sort of like the hype that's out there. I'd say at this point, at least in Portland, that's kind of shooken out a little bit. People have kind of figured out it's really something they want to consume, or they don't need to do that. They've decided, they can drink regular beer or whatever now. So I'd say Portland is a little bit more beyond, the sort of hype phase of it. But certainly in other parts of the United States, that we are slowly ramping up distribution in, we do see competitors, that the whole brand is designed around the trendiness of gluten-free. Whether or not the product is gluten-free or not, a lot of these that I'm talking about are going to be gluten-reduced or gluten-removed beers because it is cheaper to produce those. As Tyler was mentioning, barley is a subsidized product, so farmers get paid an incentive to produce barley for the beer industry. We don't have any such blessing on our crops that we use. There's no chestnut subsidy that's coming down from the sand. So.
What do you feel are kind of the health benefits to a gluten-free beer, if any?
Well, when you're talking to people with celiac disease, celiac is a condition of inflammation. It's an autoimmune response in the body. So for people who have celiac disease, the health benefits are going to be very, very stark and very contrasting to what you were experiencing before if you were consuming gluten. So certainly there are people who medically have to not have gluten. And then there are, sort of satellite issues that people have. The founder of our company, his wife and him had been trying to get pregnant for 5 years before they started this company, and his wife had had this rash on her body her whole life, and had been having a lot of inflammatory issues, and they just kind of, after starting to brew and everything, they were like, maybe this is a dietary response of some kind. I don't know what it is, but so she started to eliminate gluten from her diet, and slowly but surely her rash went away, and they were pregnant within the year. They had their first child. So, that could simply be a case of undiagnosed disease or undiagnosed sensitivity, or maybe there were some other dietary changes. But, anecdotally, people have all kinds of reasons for not consuming gluten. For us, we don't really care what the reason is. We do care in the sense that we want people who do have medical conditions to feel safe consuming the product. So primarily, that's where our focus is. We're not going to interrogate someone when they come in, but we do want it to be safe for people who medically.
So with celiac disease affecting 1% of the U.S. population, how does that affect marketing? I mean, how does...
Yeah, that's a good question. So we, when we kind of started, we had to make the decision, do we want this to just say gluten-free all over the place? Like, is that our angle? Or is it better to try and, get people to try something and not have the gluten-free stigma attached to it? Because, even here in Portland, where we have an incredibly vibrant community of brewers, there's a lot of camaraderie. We still have to, as a company, do a lot of education about this gluten-free thing. And there are still a lot of people who just, for whatever reason, don't believe good beer can be made gluten-free. So we make it a point to try to dispel that idea. One of the ways we do that is enter into the American Beer Festival every year. We've won 7 medals in 7 years, so that's pretty awesome. One of our beers has won 4 medals, three gold medals. So we know that we're making good beer. It's being received as such. A lot of it is just getting that out there marketing to people, and we do that a few different ways. We market to the gluten-free and celiac community, but we also do a fair bit of marketing in the direction of people in the industry. And the reason we do that is because we want allies out there, friends in the beer industry that will remember us and try our beer and know our beer is good and invite us to the kinds of industry events where other brewers are there and people are talking about the hot new beer from wherever. So we're very proud that we get invited to conventional beer events alongside the Great Notions or the Culminations or the Modern Timeses or whatever. The Von Eberts.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Can you recall the moment when gluten-free beer really took off? Right? When was it a success, and what? And kind of on the flip side of that is, what challenges did you were faced?
I'd say, well, it's a tough question. Having only worked at the company for 3 years now, I guess from my perspective, this all really took off when we started putting our product in cans. That was like a really big thing that seemed like things exponentially started to grow after that. In the 3 years I've worked here, I think we've opened up half a dozen new states that we're distributing into. So, and that was all coinciding with putting our beer into cans. So to me, that was a pretty big milestone.
And outside of us just being part of being a beer consumer for quite some time, I want to say it was around 2010 when I actually started seeing craft gluten-free beer. That's whenever I started seeing like Deschutes, for instance, on and off has a gluten-free product, and that's when I started noticing really on the shelves like gluten-free beer that was craft in the industry, not like a large-scale produced product.
Yeah, and as far as like marketing goes, how do you? It's definitely a challenge to market because you don't want to scare away people who maybe otherwise would try the beer, dietary restrictions or not. But then you also want people to know that do have the dietary restriction that the product is readily available for them. kind of balance that. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a brewery that had traditional beers and gluten-free beers. I'm not sure how you would ride that fence. It seems difficult for us to ride in a way.
Yeah.
But one of the things we also try to do is let people know in the way we market is that you can still drink beer. Like a lot of people view their celiac diagnosis as like the end of all of these things that they really enjoy. And we're very proud of the beer we produce. We feel like if you like beer and have celiac disease, you should be able to drink beer. You don't have to drink cider. You don't have to drink wine. If you like those things, do that. But we want to make an alternative for people to be able to drink beer, what they remember, which is another strange marketing challenge. A lot of the people who are diagnosed with celiac disease who drink our beer maybe haven't tasted what beer tastes like in 10 years. Their perception of beer is going to be different than the perception of people who are drinking beer right now. They're going to be thinking of IPAs from 10 years ago, IPAs with malty backbones, IPAs really big IBU punch you in the face bitterness, none of this tropical fruit nonsense, they just have a totally different perspective of what a beer is because that's what it was the last time they drank it. So
my favorite are the ones that come in looking for the Coors Light. It's like,
yeah.
That's really challenging to make.
So outside of Brewtopia, what is gluten-free beer like outside of Portland?
I mean, it's out there.
Yeah, we were just talking about that last night, actually.
Yeah, we counted last night. What was it, 14
or 15
breweries
dedicated. That was our one stipend.
So we like to deal with dedicated gluten-free breweries, which are breweries that only produce gluten-free beer. And so we counted, I think, 14 last night when we were just having a I guess, slightly related conversation, and that was across the United States. So
actually, that was internationally.
That
week.
was international.
So Denver, Colorado, actually it's Golden, Colorado has a dedicated gluten-free brewery that's great.
Omissions?
Omission is actually a Whitmer product and is gluten reduced. Ghost Fish in Seattle. Actually, in the greater Portland area alone, we have 4 dedicated gluten-free breweries. And then where's Aurochs? Is that?
They're in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah. And Burning Brothers in Minnesota.
Minneapolis, St. Paul.
One on the East Coast called Departed Souls.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And then there's recently, we're not even sure if they're producing yet, but in Melbourne, Australia, they're starting to, it's starting to become a bigger thing.
So,
sorry. Hold on, wait for a lull in the conversation to make that.
I can pause.
Okay. Oh, you're recording?
Yeah, we're talking IPAs.
I do think though when it comes to like the IPA, it's like beer is always the style of beer in any like place is always most popular based upon like the ingredients that are in it, if they're readily available, and you find this throughout history, like after time after time after time. Like why were wheat beers popular in Bavaria? It's because there was a whole lot of wheat in the city at the time. Why did the Domp beer become popular? Well, it was hard to find wheat, but they still liked that type of beer, so they made a beer like it, but without wheat. Like
Porters.
Kilns were shitty. They couldn't make pale malt very well. They couldn't make dark malt without burning the fuck out of it, and so porters were born. And I think that's kind of the same thing in America. What do we have? We have a whole ton of hops. We don't necessarily have all these amazing varieties of barley like they do coming out of Germany and the UK or New Zealand, but we can get hops, ready access to punch you in the face hops, and so I think that the beer reflected what's available in place.
The water here is
conducive. Yeah, it's conducive to that style. To malty profiles. That's true. Like water chemistry.
So, what I have here is the only marketing research I could find on the future of gluten-free beer.
Yeah.
Like some of the things that stuck out to me was like the projections out to 2022, and it's saying that the global market's going to grow by 20%.
Yeah.
In 2014, the search for gluten-free beer rose about 5,000%.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else that you could add to the future of gluten-free beer, or kind of like you know, what are the next expectations, or what are kind of like the next big hops in the industry?
Honestly, I feel like the next big step for gluten-free beer is going to be in yeast production. Most yeasts are not gluten-free; they're grown on a barley-based medium, and so we actually have to be very selective with what yeasts we can go with. And I think of a producer like Imperial or Y Yeast or White Labs, if they started producing gluten-free, that would open up a lot of doors for gluten-free breweries.
And they will. One of the major challenges that's going to be coming up for the beer industry in general is with the changes in the climate, the cost of barley is going to go up a lot. And there's not going to be much that the subsidies can do against that. And I'm talking in like the 10 to 15 year time frame. And I think what that's going to cause is you're going to see malt extract, like liquid malt extract and dry malt extract, become very scarce because it's going to be prioritized. Barley is going to be prioritized for the pro brewing market, and extracts are mostly used by home brewers. The thing that extracts are also used by are people who grow yeast. They use malt extract to grow up the yeast. And so I think one of the first areas you're going to see a lot of changes happening are going to be in the yeast sector, because they're not going to have ready access to a growing medium, and they're going to have to switch to something like molasses, which is going to be a lot easier to come by, and it's going to give them the same quality of yeast product. So, which will be good for us because our options for yeast will explode at that point.
So does that open up the possibility of using GMOs or GMO?
We don't use GMOs, but certainly there are products in the industry that do. And honestly, a lot of that information is kind of hard to find because of the types of product. It's not necessarily like GMO barley. It's like GMO, enzyme that you use.
Oh yeah, GMO bacteria that are
bacterial
used
to produce, an ingredient in the beer. So, for instance, because chestnuts don't have starch to sugar enzyme in them, there's no amylase in them like there is in barley. But we have to buy a product that is the same thing that has to be grown in a lab, right? And so there are, say, 4 different products of this. One of them is grown on like a fungal medium. One of them is grown on a bacterial medium. Maybe it was a bacteria that was genetically modified to better grow the product that they're trying to produce. So you will see it in that sector. I'm not as sure if you're going to see like
would that be
hops or
successful in Portland though? I'm just thinking.
I mean, honestly, these are all products that you don't have to label as like genetic. They're products that are even incidentally not listed if you're looking at something like organic, because it's like I forget what the name of it is, but there's like a class of products that they're not necessarily classed as ingredients, but they're brewing aids is what they're called.
Adjuncts.
Brewing aids.
Yeah, adjuncts you don't have to list on ingredients.
And that's like a federal thing. If you're using like a brewing aid or an adjunct, say you're trying to alter water chemistry, and so you're using calcium chloride, you're not going to list calcium chloride or calcium sulfate in your ingredients list, right? And so they don't, no one really knows if your calcium chloride is from a GMO source or what,
Probably most common in beer that might be GMO would be clarifying agents.
That's what I would think. Yeah. I would say enzymes are the primary place, and then if people are using
modified.
Well, I guarantee there is because we're made out of corn and soy.
Right.
So
Yeah. So a lot of yeast food is made from corn and soy. So that would be another place that you would get those types of products in.
Okay.
And going back to your previous question, on the next big step for gluten-free beer, something that a lot of people don't realize, barrel aging.
Yeah, that would.
Yes, that's one of my favorites.
That would be a big thing.
Gluten-free barrels, and people will laugh at you when you say that, but it's very true. Traditionally made barrels that every other brewery would use is sealed with a wheat-based paste, and so there's very few.
Is there yeast in that fermenter?
Oh no! Shoot! I know I was forgetting something. I'll be right back. Jesse knows all about this. All right.
What was the time? Barrel aging.
Barrel aging.
Yeah, so the fine art of coopering is not so well distinguished as it once was. So you don't have a lot of people that are hand making barrels anymore, which means they don't usually fit together very well. They leak a lot when you put lots of liquid in them, and so traditionally people seal them with wheat paste, which is how a lot of barrels are kind of held together. So because of that, we can't barrel age stuff. If you can find really expensive handmade barrels, you certainly can, because they're not going to have wheat paste. They're going to be banded properly, and they're going to fit together.
I learned all about coffering at Rogue.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Do that tour.
Right, and so Rogue and McMiniman's also, in particular, they have. I get jealous of them because they have this beautiful circle that they can do because they produce wine and liquor and beer, where they can produce these products and then move them around, put the beer in the wine barrel or put the beer in the liquor barrel, and make some sort of crazy fun blend of cider with one of their beers or whatever. A little jealous of their ability to do that.
So let's talk cider. I know that just from personal experience, that cider doesn't have gluten in it.
Yeah.
So why not produce a cider? Why not?
People want beer. People like beer.
Okay.
I like beer. Do you like beer?
I love beer.
I love beer too. Yeah, no, I mean, we certainly could make cider. We've talked about it before. There's certainly a lot more money in making cider. Apples are cheap, compared with all the stuff we have to put in our beer. But people like beer. We're beer drinkers. A lot of us here are beer makers, either homebrewing or like Tyler professionally. So we're beer people, and America is a beer country. Cider has definitely been really popular throughout our history at different stages in American history. But it's a different drink. It's a different beverage. It doesn't have. One of the things we try to do is when we're trying to recreate beer without gluten, is a lot of people just focus on taste. But it's not just about taste. There's a whole experience that goes to beer that's audible, that's visual, that's you get an olfactory sense of beer, right? It's the aroma. So if I were someone who found out I couldn't drink beer anymore and cider was my only option, even if I really enjoy cider, there's going to be something missing from the experience. It's not going to sound the same. It's not going to look the same. It's not going to have the foam that I like on my mustache, when I take a big sip. So that, it's really we're really focused on recreating the beer experience. Not and we like cider. We have lots of ciders on tap. We run a guest tap where we know a lot of cider makers personally. We make cider in our own time, homebrew cider. But we're about beer here.
But so from a marketing perspective, there's no fear of there's no fear of cider. There's no fear.
No way. No, we in fact we work very closely with a lot of the cideries locally. We've done collaborations with cideries. We were a part of the Snakebite Showdown, which was a event that Widmer held where they paired breweries with cideries, local breweries with local cideries, and they got them together, and then they kind of tried stuff together and figured out a good blend of beer and cider for this event. That was a lot of fun. I think we were paired with Thin River, I want to say. We used our porter and a lavender cider of theirs, and it was very good. So we don't really fear cideries. We work a lot with them. We do events in here, like we just did our fresh hop event at the end of September. So we had 2 fresh hop beers ourselves. We invited some local gluten-free breweries that also create fresh hops, and then we invited a few cideries. So we had Cider Riot's Blitzkrieg Hop fresh hop cider, which I think was one of the best things we had on the menu. It wasn't a beer at all, but it was great fresh hop apple cider. And then we have meads on too, from time to time. Mostly session meads, but every now and then we get a good beefy mead on tap here too.
So do you have any materials that I can take home for further research, or?
Probably, yeah. And then I could show you around the brewery too if you want, so you can get a sense of, I'm sure you've been in breweries before, but you can get a sense of how it's very similar.
I'm within stumbling distance of 5.
Yeah,
It's great. Love me that.
what part of town are you in?
Hillsborough.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
cool. So are you near like Vertigo and?
Vertigo, 3 Mugs.
3 Mugs. I love the 3 Mugs guys. I miss Chris dearly.
Yeah. Vertigo, 3 Mugs. JB's Brewhouse.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's right
they're too much of a chain.
Yeah. Right.
They're too much of a chain.